Hello everyone, and welcome back to DMG. Today, I have something beautiful for you. This is one of the most unique and also rarest HP Pavilion Special Edition designs. This is the DV6 Artist Edition, and, well, it is absolutely a very striking design that extends all the way through the palm rest, in addition to being the only pavilion out there to have a fully white top, including the keyboard and the speaker grill, and of course the background of the lid. This is a very special edition. I am elated to finally add this to my collection. But today we're taking a look at the quite rare, quite hard to find, and quite interesting looking DV6 Artist Edition. Now this is the Pavilion DV6, obviously. That is the same chassis that the HDX16 I covered a while ago was built in. The HDX16 used the DV6 chassis, but because of all of the bells and whistles it added, you know, the subwoofer, the 1080p screen, the Blu-ray drive, the NVIDIA graphics, it deserved to be its own product line. This is more overtly a part of the DV6 series. However, it is far more unique and also far rarer than the HDX16. So, first of all, I just have to talk about this design. This design was created by a teenager, I believe, or is either like teenager or early 20s. I got this information from HP's website. There was actually a design contest hosted by MTV, which is amazing, and the designer claimed that the pattern mimics the sky and sea in Okinawa, of course in Japan, and I can see the sea resemblance on especially the palm rest. And this is just, it's a very eye-catching design on top. I can't think of any other laptop that is nearly this flashy. But let's get to our usual ports. Left side, it's about the same as the HDX16, actually. I think it's exactly the same. VGA, HP dock port, Gigabit Ethernet, HDMI, eSATA plus USB 2, USB 2, no FireWire 400, SD reader, express card slot, unfortunately no remote. On the front you have the 3 audio jacks, that's 2 headphones, 1 mic, IR receiver, a Blu-ray drive, which is strange, we'll get to that later, 2 more USB 2, optional TV tuner and 56K modem, which are excluded on this model, Kensington lock, and the power jack, of course. Now, it's missing some things. Coming from the HDX16, this seems like a quite low-end laptop. Instead of a 1080p Full HD screen, it features a 1366 by 768, and it's also LED backlight instead of CCFL. And of course, a cold cathode gives you warmer, more realistic, more accurate colors. When LED backlights first came out, they were not very good. The Blu-ray drive is also a strange choice because this uses ATI integrated graphics. It's an HD 3200 integrated graphics chip, and that is bizarre because it lacks the hardware capability to decode Blu-rays, and of course the system doesn't have a 1080p screen, so the HD screen and the graphics card that could decode Blu-rays paired very well with the Blu-ray drive on the HDX16, but on this one, it's a bit of a strange choice. And CPU-wise, unfortunately, it is not particularly high-end either, featuring a, from the factory, 2.4 GHz AMD Turion 64X2 Ultra. And don't let the Ultra name confuse you or mislead you. Rather, it is the same outdated Turion architecture that AMD iterated on for 4 years, developing, aka releasing higher clock speed chips of the same inefficient, outdated architecture while the Core 2 Duos continue to advance. So the Turion architecture barely competed with the 32-bit Core Duos when it launched in like 2006, and by 2009, when this came out, well, the performance gap had only grown with time. So unfortunately, this is not a very well-performing laptop, and that is a huge shame because its design is unique and beautiful. I have actually debated swapping an HDX 16 motherboard into this system, and perhaps even an HDX 16 1080p screen, because I adore this case, but I am not a fan of the laptop's actual hardware. That said, I'm still going to give it a try, but it is a bit of a shame that something so gorgeous would be relegated to the low end of the hardware spectrum. Speaking of missing features, and I promise I have something positive to say about this eventually, this touch bar is very bare. You'll see that it only has mute, volume up and down, and Wi-Fi. Versus on the HDX 16, it had speaker, like tone controls, volume, play, pause, transport controls for your CD drive, and it also, of course, had the volume, mute, and Wi-Fi buttons. All of those controls that were on the touch bar on the HDX 16 are now down here on the keyboard, save for volume, and that's a shame. It looks odd having a laptop so large yet so few buttons on the touch bar. Although the touch bar seems so much more responsive than the HDX 16, I really harped on that on the HDX 16, and as I've looked at more pavilions, the HDX 16 just got the short end of the stick when it comes to the touch bar. So luckily, this one is far more responsive to your inputs. So in addition to that 2.4 gigahertz Turion, the graphics in here are a bit interesting. Yeah, Radeon HD 3200 integrated, and it's really odd. It has a tiny bit of its own VRAM in addition to sharing system memory. So it has, I think, 32 megabytes of its own memory until it starts going into the system like shared memory. So hopefully that will give us higher performance while also taking up less of the system's RAM that would typically go to the CPU. So I do like what ATI did with the graphics on the Turion chips. It's just a shame the CPUs themselves don't really hold up. While I have it open, I would like to mention that it did not ship with any manufacturer hardware stickers, like you would typically see Core 2 Duo or AMD Turion, Windows Vista, ATI Radeon, NVIDIA GeForce didn't ship with a single one of those, as not to obscure the design. It is marked Artist Edition right here, as well as on the back under the illuminated logo it reads Artist Edition. And you're hearing that fan ramp up. That is a byproduct of the Turion CPU's inefficiency, unfortunately, evidently. First, speakers, because this does have some nice speakers. Of course, it doesn't have the discrete subwoofer like the HDX 16 does. However, its two full-range speakers manage to pump out some pretty solid sound regardless. Well, as you can probably hear, the speakers are very heavy on the sound. That really comes through. The bass is adequate. It's not nearly as much as the HDX 16 with a discrete subwoofer, but this is still quite good for a laptop speaker. speaker system. This still is marked SRS Premium Sound, and with, of course, the Altec Lansing logo, since they are just besties with HP until the end of this Pavilion line when they were dropped in favor of Beats. We don't talk about that. That was not very fun. But it still has some pretty solid sound despite lacking the subwoofer that the HDX16 had. As for keyboard, it's the same as the HDX16. Touchpad is the same as well. I really like the silver touchpad. It wonderfully fits in with the silver accents around the bezel. And it's a nice, smooth, glossy feel. I don't have any complaints. The Pavilion touchpads are in fact my favorite. They are reasonably sized. They aren't like matte coated. I don't like touchpads that are coated in soft touch rubber or like textured. They are uncomfortable. But anyway, back to the keyboard. Well, there we go. It's a very nice feeling keyboard. It is quiet, and it has a solid tactile feel that a lot of business laptops could actually learn from. Again, these are some of my favorite feeling keyboards in the world. And, as I've used the HDX16 and other Pavilions, I have grown to love the feel of its keyboards, the softer, more subdued sound, yet still the solid tactile feel. So absolutely love this keyboard. It has a webcam. We can't go without testing that webcam. I think you might be able to see a little bit. The colors aren't as good as on the HDX16, but it's still a good screen. There I am, high. Bit of a low frame rate on this webcam, but quality-wise, it is fine. Let's see, what resolution is this? Ooh, yeah, it's just a 640 by 480 camera, so there are many laptops with better webcams than this, but it is perfectly sufficient. All right, what are we waiting for? We're gonna test that ATI Radeon 3200 integrated graphics. Of course, starting out with Blur, which probably might not even run. Well, you're certainly hearing the fan. That is, as I mentioned earlier, well, that's just what happens with the Turion chips. Okay, as for graphics, we'll go with the graphics off option. The Turion chip actually might hold us back in games as much as the graphics. Oh my god, this is amazing! Okay, so what I was saying about Turion's having remarkable integrated graphics, this is just like Ryzen integrated graphics when Ryzen CPUs first came out versus Intel's. this is leagues better. Intel GMA chips won't even launch Blur because they don't support the DirectX version that's needed to run it. And yes, it's at the minimum graphics setting, but this still looks fantastic. It's at 1366 by 768. Didn't have to drop the resolution, and this is like a solid 60 frames a second. So this ATI HD 3200, it appears I really underestimated this chip. This is fantastic. You might be able to hear in my gay little voice, but I really underestimated this chip. I am so pleasantly surprised. This runs better than the HDX16 on the graphics settings that I play on. I play it like almost the max graphics settings on my HDX16, and it's a GT130M, which is a 9600 GT with more memory. Wow, good shot, goofball. But this is running absolutely beautifully. Fans ramping up, you can hear it. I want to just check how much video memory this fella has really quickly. Alright, so the HD 3200 comes with, okay, 320 megabytes total of memory. Let's see if it tells us, yeah, whoa! Dedicated is 135 megabytes. How's that possible? Because the chip on the board next to it is only 32 megs. Or at least so I thought. Perhaps it's more. That's so funky. Well, the chip is DDR2. Wait a second. Oh, that's why it's running so well. It has the same number of ROPs and TMUs as the HD 3650. How do you have that much of a gap in numbers, HD 3200 to 3650, yet they're the same graphics card? That is amazing. So now I understand how it is running so well. That is the same graphics chip as is used, well, essentially the same graphics chip as is used in the ThinkPad T500 that I played on recently. You know, same number of ROPs, TMUs, just less memory. Alright, let's just go fast and see how it does with loading in assets. Okay, this is level with no other cars. We're just gonna go fast and see if perhaps there is a CPU bottleneck in loading in new assets, new parts of the level. So we'll just see how that handles. And this is on a higher graphics setting than I played last time. I mean, look, there's visual tearing. That means we're getting above 60 frames. This is insane. This is frickin' integrated graphics, remember that. And, okay, a little bit of lag. Keep in mind, again, that Intel GMA can't even open this game because it doesn't have the required DirectX version. You can't even get to the loading screen. So, amazing. I think you can tell just how blown away I am. I've only had this laptop for like a day. I was so eager to cover it. And I actually haven't tested any games on it until right now. And I am utterly amazed by this thing's performance. Oh god, that was not the best choice. This is incredible. From like 2009 integrated graphics, being able to run a game that came out the same year at medium settings and the native screen resolution. I wish I could get these integrated graphics and a Core 2 Duo CPU. Oh my goodness, that would be the perfect pairing. Get the efficiency of an ATI chipset with the memory controller on it and integrated graphics that actually don't suck, and also the benefit of a Core 2 CPU instead of a Turion. That would be incredible. Yeah, it runs astonishingly well. We don't even need to try Unreal Tournament 2004, but we still will. Again, I am blown away by the gaming performance of this thing. I expected it to be closer to Intel GMA, while it is in fact closer to like GeForce 8400. It's not even in like GeForce 8200 territory. I mean, this is the performance of a decently good, discrete graphics chip that you'd get in a laptop. But we're still gonna do some Unreal Tournament. We'll go straight for Ice Tomb because I want to make this thing suffer. And I want to see if it suffers from any of the ATI exclusive features in this level, aka the smoke glitching and the animation playing too fast. Okay, sorry, I had to get up and plug in a mouse. Unfortunately, this is not one of those systems where you can use the keyboard and touchpad simultaneously. Damn. He went boing. Wow. I mean, how is Unreal Tournament 2004 lagging? But Blur ran at like solid 60. That is insane. Blur is 6 years newer, heavier on graphics, CPU, and video memory. And Unreal Tournament 2004 is, well, it's from 2004. I mean, look at that. I guess the drivers just don't do as well on Unreal Engine. I mean, that's really the only good explanation. There we go. So it's not suffering from the common ATI graphics issue. I've primarily seen it on X1000 series cards and like X2000. But those cards like to make the smoke animation play way too fast. So pretty good that I'm not seeing it on the HD 3200. Okay. That's enough fun for now. You know, I really doubted that it would be able to run much of anything that I've put on here, but I don't think a lot of these games will actually push it hard enough. We'll do LA Rush. That is one of the harder to run games that I have on here, but there's a lot more potential in this laptop than I was expecting. Everything maximum. No, except for motion blur. Screw that. Wow. This is wonderful. I mean, remember, this is integrated graphics. Oh, this is utterly unreasonable. I could never dream that integrated graphics in 2010, oh god, would be capable of this level of quality. That car fell from the goddamn sky. I can't have been the only person that saw that. I didn't hallucinate that, did I? Okay, so there's some occasional spikes of lag and stutters, like right there. And it's when I start and stop. So it seems to be produced by the particle effects of the tire smoke. And that's a problem I noticed with Need for Speed Underground 2 on several lower-end graphics cards. It runs fine except for when there's tire smoke, at which point it just chokes. So I think it's the same situation here. The crazy taxi arrow in this game is in fact rather unhelpful at most times in telling you where to go. But I mean, this is crazy. Again, integrated graphics. Absolutely incredible. Yes! 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 I love the badass slow motion. Where the hell did everyone go? They just ran away. They heard me talk. Oh, good. One person. Yes! Okay. I've got an appetite for destruction, evidently, but there's LA Rush running better than it has any right to. No. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Oh boy, the Wheelman does not run particularly well. CPU is feeling the burn, evidently. I mean, it's not unplayable, but the motion blur makes it bothersome. Yeah, this is not a pleasant experience. Combined with the controls of the Wheelman already being a little bit janky, the frame rates aren't ideal. I wish this game had a frickin' graphics menu. so that I could actually resolve this issue. But hey, I mean, it's a goofy, weird game on a goofy, weird laptop, and it's not running very well. Man, I can't believe I went into this thinking, oh, well, this laptop's kind of lame. It doesn't perform all that well, even though its case is beautiful. And now I've just been blown the fuck away by these amazing integrated graphics. That is outrageous. Now, don't get me wrong, the Turion CPUs are still bad, but I mean, as I've stated in previous videos, the integrated graphics, ATI stepped their game the hell up. The integrated graphics on the early Turion CPUs were all made by NVIDIA, and then when they started moving to ATI, they weren't very good. But by the later Turions, like the Ultra series, they got remarkably good. Yeah, of course it runs perfectly. This graphics chip is absolutely wonderful. I just cannot stop raving about this integrated. Oh my god, he fought the hell back. And then he perished. Rip Bozo, $20 broke ass? Okay. Let's terrorize some people. Oh, sorry. I mean, it is running absolutely stunningly. I would heavily recommend the Pavilion DV6 AMD model. I never thought I would find myself recommending an AMD laptop over an Intel one, but the integrated graphics make this so compelling of a purchase if you're looking to play some older games. This is absolutely wonderful. I mean, of course, you probably won't find the Artist Edition anywhere. Those are quite hard to obtain, but Pavilion DV6s with AMD processors, just in general, will not be difficult to find. I am on fire. Okay, oh boy. Oh, that was a cool stunt. I meant to do that. Okay, so of course Vice City runs very well. Of course it runs fine. I mean, I'm gonna plug this into Ethernet and download some more games because I didn't expect the graphics card to be this good. So I didn't install games that push the hardware particularly hard. So I'm going to get some different ones and I'll be right back. Alright, we're back with some new games. After realizing that this graphics card was in fact a lot more powerful than I initially assumed, I have gone and I've loaded some new Vidya games to hopefully push this a good deal harder. So we already saw Vice City ran flawlessly at max settings. San Andreas is a bit more demanding and, you know, it's another classic. So might as well test that out as well. And then I have some more games that I've kind of barely showed on this channel at all. Things that I don't expect to run particularly well. 1280 by 768, sure. It's about as close as we can get. Of course, very high quality with draw distance all the way up. Wow. Absolutely incredible. I mean, this is an integrated graphics chip. Yeah. Now that's more what I would expect from integrated graphics. I mean, just look at the ground and it runs fine. But the crazy draw distance is not something that the iGPU can quite handle. Still not running any better, so I have a feeling it's actually probably video memory related. We'll turn that down to like medium. Turn that draw distance back up. And it's still running badly. So I'm not sure what the constraint is at this point. You'd absolutely want to shoot for a lower draw distance outside, I suppose. But yeah, as long as you're not looking like in the middle of the city, it runs a little better. Huge change from Vice City. often there's not that much of a difference between them running. I've actually noticed a far wider performance gap between San Andreas and Vice City on ATI cards than I have on NVIDIA, which is a little interesting. Just Cause 2. This is absolutely going to push this hardware remarkably hard. I expect it to run remarkably poorly, but I mean, the graphics card really surprised me with blur. So let's see how it handles here. Okay, we're getting 5 frames per second. That's about to be expected. Just Cause 2, even on the lowest settings, is not something that an integrated graphics chip can handle. This is a quite heavy game, but it does the thing I love with screens. The plastic layer over the whole screen looks very nice until it gets scratched, and it does have a potential to get scratched very quickly, unfortunately. Luckily, this one is pretty pristine. There's just a little dust on it, but just be aware of that if you want to buy one of these. Yeah, okay, so medium level of detail, 1024 by 768, and we'll just do a quick race. This should run pretty well. I swear there was like a weird glitch with one of those reflections. Oh yeah. It's running quite good. Oh wow. I was not paying attention. If you couldn't tell. I think that was pretty obvious though. I mean look, yeah, we got tearing, so that's above 60 frames a second. You could absolutely either use a mod to widen the screen to 1366 by 768, or if you want to stay on 1024, there is headroom to increase your graphics settings quite a good deal. Well, I wouldn't say quite a good deal, but a reasonable amount. So, you know, the whole classic Need for Speed series, I definitely say if you like racing games, it is a must-play. Good job, Goof. You are deforesting the city right now. But, I mean, can't complain. It's running quite well. I'm not racing very well after smashing into that wall like 5 seconds in, but the laptop is handling the game just fine. Oh boy, this is running incredibly. Wow, yeah, so there is absolutely room to, looks like the reflection update rate is pretty low, I can see on the car. So that would be something that could be increased. This is a very visually striking game. I love the visuals. I gotta say, Carbon and Most Wanted are my 2 favorites. Oh, there we go. Hell yeah. So, I mean, it's running absolutely wonderfully. Can't complain about a thing. Again, for integrated graphics, this is remarkable performance. On an Intel GMA, you would be getting nowhere near this frame rate. I mean, like, sure, they can run Unreal Tournament 2004 acceptably, but you can't run, you know, some of the newer, more demanding games, you know, newer in relation to the age of the laptop. Well, that concludes my look at the Pavilion DV6 Artist Edition, a gorgeous laptop and a very rare one as well, which I initially denounced as being underperforming out of assumption just from the Turion CPU, but then discovered that its Radeon graphics are actually remarkably performant. It has good speakers for lacking a subwoofer, it has a decent screen, although it is LED, and it has a good keyboard, as well as still having the Blu-ray drive despite not having hardware acceleration for it. And of course, the gaming performance is shockingly good. So although it is a machine of compromises, those compromises don't take away from the overall experience. And I would say this is just as good of a purchase as an HDX 16 or, you know, that sort of higher end media laptop. Because, well, its design is just gorgeous. But even if you can't get the Artist Edition, which you probably won't, I would still recommend the AMD model of the DV6 just for those wonderful integrated graphics, which again just shocked me with the performance. But that's it for this one, so thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll come back next time.